Tonight, you will lie down in a dark, quiet room, close your eyes, and wait. And nothing will happen. Your brain will not slow down. It will speed up. It will replay a conversation from 3 days ago. It will remind you of an email you forgot to send. It will invent problems that do not exist yet. And somewhere around the second hour, you will stare at the ceiling and ask yourself the same question millions of people ask every single night. Why can't I just turn off? Here's the thing. You can. You are just trying to do it wrong. The answer is not about stress. It is not about your phone screen. It is not about coffee or mattresses or white noise machines. The real reason you cannot fall asleep at night goes back hundreds of thousands of years to a version of you that slept under open sky, surrounded by things that wanted to kill it, and that version never fully went away. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. The problem is that it was built for a world that no longer exists. Let's go back, far back. Around 300,000 years ago, your ancestors slept in small groups in open environments. No walls, no locked doors, no fire alarm, just skin, ground, and darkness. And darkness, back then, was not peaceful. Darkness was when predators moved, when rival groups raided, when the sounds you heard could mean something was about to eat you. Sleep under those conditions was a calculated risk. Your body had to find a way to rest without fully switching off, so it developed a system, a layered alert system built directly into your neurology, designed to keep part of your brain always listening, always scanning, always ready to snap you awake at the first sign of danger. Anthropologist David Sampson at the University of Toronto calls this the Sentinel Hypothesis. He studied sleep patterns in modern hunter-gatherer populations and found something striking. In small groups, people almost never fell into deep sleep at the same time. Instead, they staggered. One person would drift into light sleep while another hovered in a shallower state. The group, as a whole, maintained a rotating watch without ever consciously deciding to. Their brains did it automatically. Your brain still does this, right now, every night. When you close your eyes, your brain does not simply power down, it enters a negotiation. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought and planning, begins to quiet, but the amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, stays awake. It listens, it monitors, it runs a background process that your conscious mind has no access to, scanning your environment for anything that does not belong. This is why a strange sound in the house at 2 a.m. snaps you awake in less than a second. This is why you can sleep through traffic noise you have heard 1,000 times, but a single unfamiliar creak jolts you upright. Your brain is not reacting to volume, it is reacting to novelty, to change, to anything that breaks the pattern it has memorized as safe. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker, author of research that would reshape how scientists understand human sleep, describes this as one of the most elegant survival systems ever evolved. Your sleeping brain is not absent, it is present in a different mode, a mode that prioritizes survival information above everything else. And here's where it gets strange. That same system, that ancient scanning mechanism, is almost certainly the reason your mind races when you try to fall asleep. Because the moment you lie down and try to quiet everything, your brain interprets the silence as a cue to begin its threat scan. You stop giving it external input, so it generates internal input instead. That looping thought about the argument you had last week is not anxiety in the modern sense. It is your amygdala doing exactly what it was trained over hundreds of thousands of years to do. It is reviewing social threats, cataloging risks, preparing responses. Because social rejection in your ancestral environment was not just uncomfortable, it could mean exile. And exile, for a human who needed a group to survive, was a death sentence. Your brain treats a difficult email from your boss the same urgency it once reserved for a rival tribe at the edge of camp, because neurologically, it can't tell the difference. Russell Foster at the University of Oxford, who has spent decades studying circadian biology, found something that reframes this even further. He discovered that your body does not have one sleep cycle. It has 2 natural windows, a long window in the night and a shorter dip in early afternoon. This 2-phase sleep pattern, what some researchers call biphasic sleep, appears in the historical record across cultures for thousands of years. Medieval Europeans called the gap between their 2 sleeps the watch. They used it to pray, to think, to have sex, to talk. They did not consider waking in the middle of the night to be a problem. They considered it normal, expected, part of the rhythm. Industrial society erased that rhythm. Electric light extended the evening, work schedules demanded a single consolidated block of sleep, and suddenly millions of people who were waking at 3 a.m. and lying there for an hour were told they had insomnia, when in reality they might have just been experiencing the most ancient sleep pattern in human history. This matters because the panic you feel when you can't sleep makes everything worse, and that panic is not random. It's a feedback loop with prehistoric roots. You wake during the night, your brain is already running its threat scan, and then you add a modern fear on top of the ancient one. You think, I have a meeting tomorrow, I need to sleep, why am I not sleeping? And the amygdala, hearing this new distress signal, does what it always does. It escalates. The more you try to force sleep, the more awake you become. Not because you're weak, because your brain is doing its job. You introduced a perceived threat, the threat of being too tired tomorrow, and your survival system responded appropriately. It kept you alert. Sleep researcher Allison Harvey at the University of California, Berkeley, calls this the ironic process of sleep. The harder you try to control your mental state at night, the more your brain monitors itself for the very thing you're trying to avoid. Trying not to think about a pink elephant makes you think about nothing but pink elephants. Trying to force unconsciousness makes your brain interrogate every second you remain conscious. So what actually works? Not forcing, not fighting, not checking the clock. What works, increasingly, is going back to the logic your body already understands. Your brain calms when it believes the environment is safe. It calms when body temperature drops, which is why a cool room helps. It calms when light disappears, because light signals daylight, and daylight signals the world is active and potentially threatening. It calms when breathing slows, because slow breath is the physiological signature of a non-threatened organism. These are not sleep tips. These are signals. Ancient signals your nervous system has been reading longer than your species had language. When your ancestors finally allowed themselves to drift off, it was not because they decided to. It was because their bodies received enough converging information that the threat level had dropped. Darkness, cool air, familiar sounds, the warmth of the group nearby. Safe. Rest. Your bedroom, when you think about it that way, is an attempt to recreate that ancient signal package. The blackout curtains are your version of a moonless night. The blanket is the warmth of the group. The silence, or the white noise, is the hum of a safe camp with no intruders. You are not doing anything new. You're trying to trick a 300,000-year-old brain into believing that everything, for now, is fine. And sometimes it works. And sometimes, at 3 a.m., your brain decides it's not convinced. Because here's what no sleep app will tell you. The version of you lying in that bed is not separate from the version that once slept under open sky, listening for predators that never came and rivals that always might. You are the same organism. You are separated by time, but not by wiring. When the night feels too long and your thoughts will not stop, that is not a disorder. That is your mind doing the most human thing it has ever done, staying watchful, staying ready, refusing to let you become the one who was caught off guard. Tonight, when you lie down and close your eyes and the thoughts start, remember that. The mind racing is not failure, it is inheritance. And somewhere, deep in the circuitry of an organism that has survived everything the world has thrown at it for 300,000 years, there is a kind of logic to lying awake in the dark. You were built to make it through the night. You always have been.